Welcome, and thank you for being here. On a night when your mind may have gone through many layers of exhaustion, while your heart is still searching for a place to rest. In this quiet space, we accompany you, guiding you through the essential teachings of Buddhism, Zen stories as gentle as breath, yet deep enough to illuminate the hidden corners of the heart. And then together, drift into a peaceful sleep. Today, we step into a truth that many people painfully realize too late. Kindness is not always appreciated. There are people who remain kind their entire lives, yet are still taken for granted, seen as something obvious, and treated as if their kindness is an obligation, not a gift. Why does this happen? Why can kindness, something beautiful and pure, sometimes become the very reason others take advantage, demand more, or even look down on you? Buddha taught that everything in life operates through causes, conditions, and wisdom. Kindness without wisdom becomes weakness. Kindness without boundaries is like an open, unguarded door. Anyone can walk in, and anyone can hurt you at any time. Many people mistakenly believe that being kind means never saying no, that being gentle means tolerating everything. But the truth is the opposite. Only those who set boundaries can truly protect their hearts. Only those with self-respect can offer love without losing themselves. In tonight's journey, we will share ancient Zen stories, not simply to hear, but to use as a mirror for your own life. Each story will help untie a knot, help you understand why kindness is sometimes undervalued, and how your kindness can become a stable light that no one can diminish. And now, before we enter the main teaching, let us begin with the story of a river deep inside the forest, shared by Zen Master Yurin, a story reminding us that giving without limits turns kindness cloudy. Where there are no banks, the water will be invaded. Without boundaries, kindness becomes an obligation. In this vast life, everyone wishes to be a good person, to give, to listen, to open their heart. But sometimes, the more you give, the more you're overlooked. The better you are, the more you're pushed aside. The more generous you become, the more easily others take advantage. Have you ever wondered, why is kindness easily mistaken for weakness? Why does limitless giving exhaust the heart? And why do good people often suffer? Zen never considers kindness as weakness. But Zen also reminds us that everything needs form and structure. There must be shape and shadow, shore and boundary. Without boundaries, kindness becomes water swept away by whatever passes through. Imagine a river. The water is clear, gentle, cool, and refreshing. But without riverbanks, it will be invaded by soil and rocks, polluted by trash, and damaged by anyone who comes near. Unlimited giving is not compassion, it is depletion. This is why Zen Master Yurin told an ancient story about a river in the forest, a story still shared among those seeking inner practice, to understand that kindness is not only meant to be given, but also protected. Long ago, deep in the untouched forest of Shion, where no ambition or calculation had ever stepped, there was a river named Natsurin. Its water was so clear that every tiny grain of sand at the bottom could be seen, and so cool that just dipping a fingertip felt like all exhaustion was washed away. Anyone passing through the forest stopped by the river, drank a sip, washed their hands, or simply sat quietly to feel peace flowing through each ripple. Natsurin never refused anyone. When thirsty deer came, it opened itself gently. When exhausted travelers stopped, it kept flowing silently. When tree roots reached deep into the soil for nutrients, it continued to flow, without a single word of complaint. Over time, its generosity became an expectation. No one saw it as love, effort, or a heartfelt offering anymore. Deer drank and muddied the water without care. Travelers left behind trash, cloth, and tin cans as if it were normal. Tree roots spread wider, aggressively absorbing its water without realizing that behind their life was the depletion of a river slowly growing weaker. Days passed. Natsurin kept giving, kept flowing, but the once clear water turned into a yellowish, murky stream. Its depth shrank, and its soft flowing sound became an exhausted gurgle. One quiet night, when the forest became still enough to hear leaves fall, the silver moon shone upon what had now become a tired, muddy puddle. In that moment, for the first time, the river spoke, not with joyful resonance, but with a painful, choking question. Why do you treat me like this? I nourished all of you, gave everything, kept nothing. Why is this my return? The ancient forest replied gently, not in anger, not in bitterness, but with pure truth, because you never set a limit. You always gave, always flowed, and never said you were tired. How could we know you were hurting? That moment was like a cold but awakening blade. Natsurin realized that it had long misunderstood unconditional giving as love. In truth, it had never known how to love itself. It only flowed out of habit, out of a desire for approval, believing that if it kept giving, one day it would be appreciated. From that day, the river changed, not through anger or resistance, but through awareness. It pulled back its flow, carved deeper into the earth to form strong riverbanks, and allowed silence to restore clarity. For the first time, it flowed for itself, not for others. And strangely, when Natsurin became clear and steady, the whole forest learned to respect it, not because it begged, but because it protected itself. The lesson is this: love is not giving until empty. It is giving from fullness. The story of Natsurin is not only an ancient Zen tale, it is a metaphor for modern life. Have you ever been like that river? Always wanting to be good, always afraid of disappointing others, always giving before acknowledging your own feelings, always smiling even when you feel empty inside, and then one day you realized you were being taken for granted. Kindness without boundaries becomes duty. Kindness without roots is mistaken for weakness. Kindness without self-protection becomes pain. In Buddhism, compassion, karuna, must always be paired with wisdom, prajna. Wisdom is not for judging others. It is for protecting yourself from depletion. Natsurin dried up because it was ignorant of its own exhaustion. It did not suffer because it gave. It suffered because it gave in the wrong way. Boundaries in Zen are not selfishness. Boundaries are the expression of mindfulness. It is how you tell the world, my kindness is a gift, not an obligation. I give because I choose to, not because I fear. and that is why you will be respected. Modern psychology describes this as compassion fatigue, emotional burnout from constantly being kind. The brain becomes overwhelmed by having to respond to the needs of others continuously. Without boundaries, the nervous system enters prolonged stress, leading to exhaustion, anxiety, or the feeling of being used without being able to speak up. Zen does not teach you to fight others. Zen teaches you not to fight yourself. From the river's story, there are 3 important teachings you can apply today. 1. Compassion must include wisdom. Giving does not mean doing everything. Giving must match capacity and circumstance. Buddha taught, compassion without wisdom harms oneself. 2. Setting boundaries is an act of compassion. Be compassionate to yourself first. Then you can be compassionate to others. Boundaries create healthy and balanced relationships. 3. Do not let kindness turn into compromise. Saying no does not make you a bad person. Saying no protects the essence of your kindness. In daily life, you can practice with small steps. When someone asks for help, pause and listen to your true feelings. If you are tired, say, "I can't right now." If you feel taken advantage of, withdraw gently. Neuroscience shows that people who set boundaries live healthier, experience less stress, and sleep better because their nervous system is not constantly threatened by emotional intrusion. Now, as you close your eyes and listen, remember the image of Natsurin slowly becoming clear again after building its riverbanks. Let your heart do the same. Slow down. Stop responding to every request. Stop trying to please everyone. Stop becoming a container for endless demands. Breathe in slowly. Feel the warmth flowing in your chest. Exhale gently, like the river releasing what does not belong to it. If your mind is tense, let your breath become the boundary that preserves inner peace. If you still hold today's worries, let them fall gently like a leaf landing on water. When the mind has banks, the heart becomes clear. When the heart is clear, sleep becomes light as morning mist. A river becomes murky, not because the water is bad, but because it lacks boundaries. Likewise, kindness becomes wounded, not because you are insincere, but because you have not built a shore for your own heart. But there is a deeper reason why many people never set boundaries, never say no, never refuse. This reason is silent, persistent, and common among gentle souls, kindness that is born from fear. And when you understand this, a new door will open on your healing journey. In the next part, we will explore the fear behind kindness. The fear that turns your good heart into an open door for those who take advantage. In the journey of life, there are things that appear beautiful on the surface, but carry a silent paradox inside. Kindness, which is often seen as the light of the heart, sometimes comes from a dark place that even the person who carries it does not realize. Have you ever noticed yourself trying to be kind, caring, attentive, and accommodating? Not because you truly want to, but because you are afraid? Afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of being disliked, afraid of conflict, afraid of someone leaving, Zen Master Shinkai once said something that awakened many people. Kindness born from fear always invites harm. Kindness that comes from fear always opens the door for pain to walk in. To understand this deeply, imagine an oil lamp in the night. Its light is beautiful, but if the wind blows and the lamp has no cover, the flame can go out at any moment. Kindness without strong roots is the same. Just one harsh word, one demanding request, one expectation, and the heart becomes shaken. The fear behind kindness is something many people do not dare to face, and because they avoid facing it, they continue giving until they are drained. To help you understand this fully, let us move to an old story. The story of a young novice monk who was gentle, but gentle in a way that harmed himself. Long ago, on the eastern mountainside where the morning mist covered each blade of grass like threads of silk, there was a small monastery leaning against ancient pine trees. In that monastery lived a young novice named Renko. Everyone knew him not for sharp reasoning or deep mastery of teachings, but for his gentle heart that was always ready to help anyone. Sweeping the yard, chopping wood, cooking porridge, carrying water, cleaning the floor. Whenever anyone called his name, Renko bowed and agreed, never thinking about refusing. One winter morning, cold winds swept across the temple grounds and breaths turned into white mist. As usual, Renko woke up early to ring the bell for meditation. When he stepped outside, he saw Elder Hogan, who had watched over the temple for decades, standing beneath an old pine tree, calm but with a look that suggested deep concern. "Renko," he said in a low voice, "why are you always in such a hurry to do everything for others? Have you ever asked yourself why everyone sees your help as something guaranteed, without caring whether you are tired or happy?" Renko lowered his head and quietly replied, "I just want everyone to be pleased. I am afraid they will be sad or think I am selfish." Hogan did not argue or lecture. He simply gestured gently toward the great bell hanging in the courtyard, the bell that echoed with purity every morning and every night. "Renko, you have struck this bell for many years. Do you know why its sound is always deep, clear, and steady?" Renko shook his head. Hogan said, "Because it is empty inside. It is the emptiness that allows it to resonate rather than break. You, on the other hand, are allowing your kindness to cling to fear. How can the voice of your heart resound if it is filled with anxiety?" Renko listened, but his heart had not yet fully grasped the meaning. And the moment of realization came later that winter night. A group of villagers came to the temple asking for help carrying heavy goods. Renko was feverish, pale, and barely steady on his feet. But the moment they called him, he forced himself to stand and smiled. "Yes, I can do it." Elder Hogan saw this from afar. He approached quickly and stopped Renko, speaking with firmness and compassion. "You are sick and your body is calling for help. Why must you force yourself?" Renko trembled. "If I refuse, they will not be happy. I'm afraid they will think I am lazy." One person in the group immediately responded with irritation. "If you don't want to help, just say it. Stop pretending to be sick." That sentence made Renko bow deeply in apology, even though he was the one who needed care. Hogan gently supported Renko back to his room and then returned to face the group. He spoke slowly, yet decisively. No one has the right to demand kindness from another person. No one said another word. They quietly left. Renko lay down, tears slowly pooling at the corner of his eyes. I just don't want to be hated. I'm afraid they will think I am not good. Hogan placed a hand on his shoulder. Renko, sometimes fear wears the mask of kindness. When someone does good out of fear, their heart becomes like a door without a latch. Anyone can enter and cause harm. Renko softly asked, Then how can I stop being afraid? Hogan smiled, with eyes still and calm like a quiet lake. Begin by looking deeply into the reason why you are being kind. If your kindness comes from love, your heart will be light like an empty bell. But if your kindness comes from fear, you will be heavy like a stone. And stones cannot resonate. From that day on, Renko did not change immediately. But whenever someone asked for help, he learned to pause for a moment, feel his breath, and look into his fear. When he finally dared to refuse for the first time, his teacher's words echoed like a bell in the cold night. Kindness born from fear will always invite harm. And Renko realized that transformation begins at the moment you dare to face what makes you tremble. Renko's story is a clear reflection of many people's inner world. There are times when you think you are living kindly, but in truth, you are living according to fear. You fear disappointing others. You fear judgment. You fear someone getting angry. You fear being abandoned. You fear being looked down on. You fear becoming the bad person. And so, you take on more tasks even though you are exhausted. You help others even when your heart is worn out. You say yes while your throat wants to say no. Buddhist teachings call this compassion with attachment. Modern psychology calls this the fawning response, pleasing others as a form of survival. It is not because you are weak, but because in the past, you were punished for expressing your true needs. Zen reminds us that every fear begins from a very deep question. Am I still valuable if I am not serving anyone? When kindness comes from insecurity, you will give too much, exhaust too much, and hurt too much. That is not compassion. That is an effort to be accepted. From the story, there are 3 important teachings. 1. True compassion never comes from fear. If you are kind because you fear being disliked, that is not compassion. That is self-protection of a wounded identity. 2. Saying no is a form of love. Love yourself by respecting your own energy. Love others by not giving them a chance to depend on you. 3. Steady kindness creates respect. When you act correctly, not out of fear but from clarity, others will feel your strength. Psychology shows that people who practice grounded kindness have a more regulated nervous system, lower cortisol levels, and naturally deeper sleep, because they are not living in a hidden state of stress. Now you may take a moment to pause. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and notice, in everything you did today, how much came from love and how much came from fear. Let your breath reveal the truth. When the mind is still, fear becomes visible. When you dare to face it, you are no longer controlled by it. Release the pressure to please everyone. Release the guilt of saying no. Release the fear of being misunderstood. The lighter your heart, the deeper your sleep. When your heart is no longer burdened by self-imposed responsibility, your whole body relaxes like a quiet stream flowing through a peaceful forest. When you clearly see that kindness born from fear, you take one more step into awareness. You begin to recognize the expectations you carry each time you give, because in truth, there is something deeper than fear. It is the attachment to expectation. Only when kindness is free from expectation can the heart be free. No response, still peaceful. No recognition, still complete. That is the first step toward compassion without attachment. And in the next part, the Zen master will guide you into that teaching. When expectations fall away. There is a paradox many people don't recognize. The more you give with the expectation of getting something back, the heavier your heart feels. But when you give without expecting anything in return, your heart becomes as light as a cloud. Have you ever wondered why the same kind act can sometimes feel peaceful and other times feel exhausting? It's not your kindness that changes. It's your expectations pulling the strings of your emotions. Buddhist teachings say that when the mind places expectations on actions, every time those expectations aren't met, another knot of attachment tightens. But when kindness is separated from expectation, your energy becomes clear, like the surface of a lake at dawn. No one responds, yet your mind stays calm. No one notices, yet your heart feels complete. Imagine you're holding a lotus petal. If you hold it just to appreciate it, the petal naturally releases its fragrance. But if you hold it hoping someone will praise it, hoping someone will see it, hoping someone will acknowledge it, that fragrance immediately loses its original lightness. Kindness is the same. Too many expectations turn it into a burden that you yourself have to carry. To clarify this, the journey through old stories will take you to a small stream and a woodcutter. A simple story, but one that can make you look again at everything you have ever given. Long ago, in a quiet forest where the morning mist fell like a silver veil, there was a small stream flowing along the foot of a mountain. The water was so clear that you could see every stone at the bottom, shining in the sunlight like tiny pearls. Every morning, before beginning his long day in the mountains, a woodcutter named Hanto would stop by this stream to drink a cool sip of water and wash his calloused hands from his labor. Hanto was a kind man, always willing to help anyone in the village, but deep inside, he carried a secret expectation. Every time he did something good, he wanted others to remember it, to be grateful, and to treat it as a debt that should be repaid. In his mind, kindness only felt complete if it was recognized by others. One day, as Hanto was getting ready to head up the mountain, a group of travelers passed by. He quickly greeted them, gave them directions, helped carry their heavy luggage, and supported an elderly person over a slippery, rocky path. He smiled sincerely, his heart full of pride for doing something good. But after helping, he stayed there, waiting for them to turn back and thank him. He waited a few seconds, then a few minutes, but the group simply nodded slightly and continued on, without a word of gratitude or a single look of appreciation. Hanto's heart sank. He felt disrespected, as if the good he had done had been left behind on the road and blown away by the wind. That afternoon, he returned to the familiar stream. The water was still clear, still cool, still flowing without any concern. But his heart was as heavy as the mud at the bottom. I helped them. Why didn't they thank me? He murmured. Suddenly, Zen Master Yurin, who lived in a small hut nearby, walked over. He quietly watched Hanto, then pointed to the flowing water. Hanto, do you see this stream? Yes, I see it. This water comes from a high source. It brings coolness to the forest, to the animals, to all who pass by. But tell me, does the stream need anyone to be grateful? Hanto bit his lip and stayed silent. The master scooped up a bucket of water and handed it to him. The water stays clear whether someone drinks it or not. Kindness is the same. When you give and still expect something, you are like a person holding water in a bucket and believing you can control the entire stream, Hanto asked in a faint voice. But if no one remembers, doesn't that mean my kindness is being taken lightly? Zen Master Yurin shook his head, picked up a small leaf, and dropped it into the stream. The leaf floated away gently, not clinging to anything. No one knowing is still complete, because that is freedom. What hurts you is not that people forget. It's that you keep remembering. You remember that you gave. You remember that you deserve something in return. It is this thread of expectation that pulls your mind back and makes you tired. Hanto watched the small leaf drift along the water without any weight. That night, he suddenly understood. The stream never holds on to what it gives, and that is why it never runs dry. The next day, he again helped an elderly person carry firewood. But when that person hurried away without saying thank you, he smiled, and his heart felt as light as the wind. For the first time in his life, he felt free, because his heart was now flowing like that stream, not trying to keep, not waiting to receive, simply doing what is right. Hanto's story is not just a story from long ago. It is a mirror for every relationship you have ever had. Many people give with a gentle appearance, but inside, they carry a list of expectations. A thank you, appreciation, a gesture in return, or at least being remembered. When expectation is placed inside kindness, kindness immediately loses its freedom. It is no longer compassion. It becomes a silent contract. If the other person doesn't meet it, that contract is considered broken. In Zen, an attached mind is like a hand gripping a rope. The tighter you hold, the more your hand hurts. The more you let go, the lighter your heart becomes. Modern psychology also confirms that. When we give with expectations, the brain activates regions of evaluation, comparison, reward seeking, increasing cortisol, the stress hormone. When we give purely, the brain activates regions of inner calm, helping the heartbeat stabilize and making it easier to fall into deep sleep. Buddhist teachings call this the practice of letting go, equanimous giving. Giving without keeping score, without holding on, without demanding repayment. Letting go is not indifference. Letting go is freedom. There are 3 things you can carry into your daily life. 1. When there is no expectation, kindness becomes pure. Like a stream that doesn't hold its water, you do not hold on to your merit. When the mind is empty, compassion flows naturally. 2. When you don't wait for others to respond, you free yourself. Whether others remember or forget does not determine the quality of your kindness. Only your own heart does. 3. When you don't demand results, you nurture long-lasting peace. One good action cannot always change another person's heart, but it can change yours. And that is what matters more. Neuroscience also shows that people who practice giving without expectation have more stable alpha brain waves, the type of waves that help the mind relax and ease the body into sleep. You can try this tonight. Let go of just one small expectation. You will feel your heart lighten a little. Now, you can gently close your eyes. Release the tension in your shoulders. Soften your breath. You don't need to be better than anyone. You don't need to wait for anyone to understand you. Imagine a leaf floating on a stream. That leaf carries all the expectations you've been holding. The expectation of being appreciated, the expectation of being repaid, the expectation of being remembered. Let that leaf leave your hand. When the mind releases, the body naturally relaxes. Your breathing becomes slower and deeper. Sleep, in turn, becomes as gentle as a night rain. Ask yourself, did my kindness today carry any strings? If it did, gently remove them, like pulling off a single hair caught on your sleeve. Inner peace does not come from being recognized by someone else. Inner peace comes from no longer needing that recognition. When expectation falls away, kindness returns to its true nature. Open without demanding, warm without binding. That is the first step toward compassion without attachment. But there is another, more subtle challenge. When someone gives until they are completely exhausted, not because they expect others to repay them, but because they secretly hope they will be loved if they keep being good. It is as if they are using kindness to beg for a bit of affection, a bit of attention, a bit of shelter. In an old monastery, there was once such a novice, the young monk Shinro. Shinro's story is a reminder that kindness without self-respect is no longer true kindness, but pleading disguised as gentleness, and that will be the next story. Novice Shinro and the Mirror. There is a truth that few people dare to face. Many good deeds do not come from great compassion, but from fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of conflict. Fear of not being loved. A Zen master once said, "Kindness without self-respect is begging for affection in the form of being nice." Have you ever given until you were exhausted, but didn't truly know whether you were helping out of compassion or because you wanted to be loved? Have you ever felt uncomfortable refusing someone as if you were doing something wrong, even though you did nothing wrong? And has there ever been a voice inside you saying, "I must be even better, so no one will leave me behind"? When kindness is built on fear, it is no longer pure. It is like a mirror covered in dust. It cannot reflect yourself clearly, nor can it reflect others clearly. People think they are loving, but in reality, they are holding on. They think they are helping, but in truth, they are seeking recognition. To understand this more clearly, let us move to the next story about the young novice Shinro, who once had a kind heart so gentle that he ended up hurting himself. Deep in the forest, where the wind passed through the pine branches like the whisper of time, there was a small Zen monastery hidden in the morning mist. Every morning, sunlight shined on the dewdrops on bamboo leaves, sparkling like tiny crystals. In that tranquil place lived a novice named Shinro, a gentle, patient, and devoted child who was considered by everyone in the monastery to be the perfect example of compassion. Shinro was always the first to wake and the last to sleep. He quietly did all the tasks without ever complaining, sweeping the yard, hauling water from the mountain well, cooking for the community, fixing temple doors, tending the herbal garden, and even tasks that weren't his responsibility. Whenever someone called his name, he immediately ran to them as if it was a duty that had to be fulfilled. The monks often said to one another, "Shinro truly has the heart of a bodhisattva," but no one knew that behind his gentle smile was a long-lasting exhaustion. Every night before sleeping, he placed his hand on his chest and silently asked, "Why do I do so much, yet still feel it's not enough?" One day, an incident happened in the monastery. A novice accidentally broke an ancient vase, a treasured item passed down for generations. Afraid of being punished, he immediately blamed Shinro. The rumor spread throughout the monastery, and all eyes turned to Shinro with suspicion and disappointment. Shinro knew he didn't do it, but he still bowed his head and apologized, taking full responsibility as if it were the natural thing to do. That night, Shinro sat alone on the temple porch under the moonlight. His face looked tired, his thin shoulders trembling as if he was carrying an invisible weight with no place to set it down. The Zen master and head abbot walked toward him and sat nearby, silent as if listening to the breath of the night. He spoke gently. "Shinro, do you know why I called you?" Shinro shook his head. The Zen master took out a small wooden mirror and placed it in his hands. "Look into it and tell me what you see." Shinro stared for a long time and answered, "I only see myself." The Zen master nodded. "Then ask yourself this. Do you help others because you love them, or because you want them to love you?" Shinro's hands trembled. His eyes became confused, as if he had touched a secret he himself had buried deeply. Then he cried like a child. "I am afraid of being disliked, afraid everyone will leave me. If I refuse, they will think I'm bad. I don't want to be seen as selfish." The Zen master gently took the mirror back, wiped off a thin layer of dust, and placed it again in Shinro's hands. When the mirror is covered with dust, you cannot see yourself clearly. When kindness is covered with fear, it no longer shines. He looked into Shinro's eyes and spoke slowly. "Kindness led by love is clear and enduring. Kindness led by fear is fragile, easily taken advantage of, and you will be the first one hurt." Then he stood up and ended with an important sentence. "Kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is abandoning yourself." From that day, Shinro began learning something he had never considered before: the practice of saying no. At first, it was very difficult. His heart trembled like bamboo leaves in the wind. But he came to realize those who truly love him will respect his boundaries. Those who want to take advantage will leave on their own. The next afternoon, the monastery felt more peaceful than ever. Shinro no longer forced himself to earn love, and for the first time, he felt warmth coming from his own heart. From then on, his kindness became bright again, clear, pure, and rooted. Shinro's story reveals a deeply human truth. When kindness becomes a mask that hides fear, you lose your freedom. In Zen, the fear of being abandoned is one of the core roots of ego attachment. You think that if you are not good enough, others will leave. You think that if you don't accept blame, others will get angry. You think that if you don't help as much as possible, people won't love you anymore. All those thoughts turn kindness into a burden. Buddhist teachings remind us, compassion does not mean submission. Tolerance does not mean enduring everything. And love does not mean hurting yourself. Modern psychology calls this the fawning response, pleasing others to avoid conflict. When someone hides fear beneath the surface of kindness, they will struggle to say no, easily accept blame that isn't theirs, give too much, sacrifice without truly wanting to, and feel exhausted while still pretending to be fine. That is not compassion. That is self-abandonment. In Zen, a truly kind person knows when to give, when to stop, when to say no, when to conserve their own energy. Because if your heart is no longer at peace, you cannot give peace to anyone. From Shinro's story, there are 3 lessons you can apply in daily life. 1. Kindness must be built on self-respect. You help because you choose to help, not because you fear being disliked. If your actions are based on fear, you will always be exhausted. 2. Learning to say no is part of spiritual practice. Refusing at the right time protects your energy and also respects others. A tired heart cannot plant seeds of peace. 3. Those who truly love you will not take advantage of you. Boundaries do not lessen kindness. Boundaries make it pure. Neuroscience shows that people who constantly try to please others have higher heart rates, higher cortisol, and a greater risk of insomnia. Those who establish clear boundaries have better sleep quality, more emotional stability, and less anxiety. This is why Zen masters always say that boundaries are the protective wall for a person's spiritual energy. Now, you may close your eyes for a moment. Relax your shoulders and let your breath flow softly through your chest. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to make everyone happy. Imagine a mirror in front of you. That mirror reflects your shape, but not the person others expect you to be. Rather, the person you truly are. Look into that mirror and ask yourself, did my kindness today make me exhausted? Did my smile carry fear within it? Did my help come from love or from fear? Each breath is a way to wipe dust from the mirror. When the breath becomes deep and slow, the mind becomes still. When the mind becomes still, sleep becomes light like a flower petal falling on water. Allow yourself to release part of the burden you have carried for many years. When you no longer force yourself to be good, kindness naturally flows like spring water. And then, After understanding Shinro's lesson, you will realize something even more important. To keep kindness pure, you need boundaries. Boundaries are not coldness. Boundaries are how you teach the world how to treat you. Good people will respect you. Those who want to exploit will leave, and that is the doorway to the next story. A story about the strength of boundaries, about how someone preserved inner peace in a world full of demands and expectations. In life, there is a paradox that people often hesitate to face. The kinder you are, the more easily others assume you are responsible for keeping everyone happy. And the softer you are, the more you are seen as someone who will say yes if they beg a little and agree if they push just a bit. But kindness does not mean you have to endure everything. And goodness does not mean letting others step over your boundaries. Zen masters often ask their disciples, "How can a garden stay green and healthy if there is no fence to protect its roots?" Boundaries are like that fence, not to block people out, but to protect what is important inside. Your peace, dignity, self-respect, energy, and compassion. So why are so many people afraid of setting boundaries? Afraid of being seen as cold, afraid of hurting others, afraid of losing the image of being a good person? In reality, the honesty of boundaries does not make you any less kind. Boundaries simply help your kindness have a foundation and roots, so it is not blown away by the winds of life. To help you see this clearly, let us move to the next story about a potter and a clay mold. A simple story, but one that holds deep wisdom. In a small village at the foot of a mountain, where evening cooking smoke blended with the sound of a stream in the distance, there was a potter named Cairo. His hands were famous throughout the region for being able to turn lifeless clay into something alive, soft and full of spirit. People often said, "Clay in Cairo's hands doesn't just take shape, it starts to breathe." He was that talented, yet Cairo had such a gentle heart that no one knew where his limits were. Whoever came to ask, he helped. Whoever asked to have something, he gave. Even when people broke things, they came to him as if it were a given. No payment, no hesitation, no gratitude. He became the one carrying all of other people's wants, even though no one stopped to ask whether he had the strength to carry them. One day, while he was shaping an important vase for the mountain temple, his sweat fell onto the clay like heavy drops of worry and exhaustion. The clay on the wheel kept collapsing, losing its form, as if his own heart was caving in with every handful of clay. At that moment, a stranger walked into the workshop and quietly watched. After some time, the visitor looked at Cairo and asked, "You keep shaping, but the clay won't stand. Do you know why?" Cairo replied tiredly, "The clay isn't obeying me." The visitor looked at him with understanding, then placed a piece of clay into a wooden mold. Within seconds, the clay stood firm. The visitor said, "Clay is soft, so it needs a mold. Without a mold, it will collapse in any direction. A person without boundaries is the same." Those words froze Cairo in place, as if someone had just held a mirror up to his heart. The visitor continued, "You think you are acting out of kindness, but in truth, you are abandoning yourself. You give others your time, your strength, but you don't keep any of it to complete what truly matters. You shape clay as if this life must bend to everyone else's wishes and not to your own. Cairo lowered his head and spoke in a softer voice. I don't want anyone to think I'm selfish. I just want them to be happy. The visitor gently placed a hand on his shoulder and said, having boundaries is not selfish. Selfishness is letting yourself become so exhausted that you become another burden for others. Kindness only lasts when it doesn't harm you. Then the visitor made a strange request. For the next 3 days, refuse everyone. Just tell them you are working on an important vase. Cairo was anxious, but he agreed. On the first day, someone came asking him to fix a water jar. Cairo calmly said no. The person looked a bit confused, then left. On the second day, someone got angry when he refused. Cairo stayed silent and kept his composure. On the third day, no one came. The workshop was completely quiet, and for the first time, Cairo was able to work with his whole heart. When the vase was finished, everyone in the village was stunned. Zen Master Yurin stared at it for a long time and said, "This vase carries the shape of awakening." The stranger returned and gently asked, "Cairo, do you understand what boundaries are now?" With tears in his eyes, Cairo answered, "Boundaries don't make me less kind. They simply keep my kindness from being lost." The visitor smiled and left, like a breeze that came only to awaken the clay. From then on, people in the village slowly changed. Those who truly needed help still received it from Cairo. Those who were taking advantage quietly stepped back. That vase remained in the temple for many generations as a reminder. To keep the form, you must have a mold. To keep your heart, you must have boundaries. Cairo's story clarifies something Buddhist teachings have emphasized for a very long time. Kindness without boundaries turns into self-abandonment. Kindness is not about letting others decide your worth. Kindness is helping when you are able to, not when you are being forced. In Zen, boundaries are seen as precepts, the foundation of all practice. Precepts are not about restricting others. Precepts are about protecting your own inner world. When you say no, you are keeping precepts. When you refuse something that would drain you, you are keeping precepts. When you don't let others blame or manipulate you, you are keeping precepts. Modern psychology calls this boundary setting, a survival skill for emotional health. When a person has no boundaries, they easily fall into 4 states. Emotional burnout, because they are always trying to please everyone. Low self-worth, because they believe their value lies only in serving others. Being taken advantage of, because they are afraid to say no. Silent resentment, because they give too much and no one acknowledges it. Buddhist teachings say that compassion must go together with wisdom. Compassion without wisdom becomes self-pity. Wisdom without compassion becomes coldness. Boundaries are where compassion and wisdom meet. When you set boundaries, you are not pushing anyone away. You are simply placing them in the position that truly fits your energy. There are 3 lessons you can bring into daily life. 1. Boundaries are not coldness. Boundaries are awareness. When you know what you need, what you want, and what you are able to give, You won't turn your kindness into unconditional self-sacrifice. That is not selfishness. That is self-respect. 2. Good people will respect you when you have boundaries. Those who truly care about you will understand that boundaries help you stay healthier and more peaceful. Those who are using you will leave, and that in itself is a blessing. 3. Kindness with boundaries becomes deeper. You no longer act out of fear of what others think. You act because you genuinely want to. This makes your energy stronger, clearer, and more enduring. Neuroscience shows that people who set boundaries have lower heart rates, deeper sleep, and about 40% lower risk of anxiety compared to those who constantly try to please everyone. That is why Zen masters say boundaries are also a form of meditation. Meditation in how you act, meditation in how you live. Now let your shoulders relax. Close your eyes for a moment. Let your breath come in gently and leave slowly. Feel as if no pressure is clinging to your mind. Imagine in front of you a clay mold the potter once used. That mold represents your boundaries. You don't need to raise your voice at anyone. You don't need to be harsh so others will fear you. Boundaries don't need noise. They only need clarity. Ask yourself, what in my life is draining my energy? Is there someone crossing my limits that I haven't dared to speak to? Is there something I need to keep for myself? Take another deep breath. Each breath is a step back into the safe ground within you. When your mind has a place to stand, you no longer let others control your emotions. At night, when your head touches the pillow, you will feel the lightness of someone who knows where they begin and where they end. Boundaries do not make sleep shallower. Boundaries make sleep deeper and more peaceful. Zen Master Kanshū once said, "When people can no longer control you, they call your firmness a problem. When you start having boundaries, those who are used to taking advantage of you will be uncomfortable. They say you've changed. They say you're selfish. They say you're too rigid, but that is not a mistake. It is a sign that you are moving in the right direction, and that is also the turning point that leads into the next story. A story about Master Kanshū himself, who awakened an entire village with just one sentence. There is a strange truth in life. When you are soft, people say you are gentle. When you endure, people say you are good. But when you begin to stand tall, set boundaries, and protect your dignity, people say you had changed, become rigid, or become difficult. Why is it that people easily accept someone who always bends, yet become uncomfortable when you become firm? Zen Master Kanshū once said, "When people can no longer control you, they call your firmness a problem." A sentence that seems simple, yet it reflects the true nature of many relationships in your life. There are people who love the sun, but want its light to shine only the way they want. There are people who love the lotus, but want it to bloom on the day they need it. There are people who say they love you, but become annoyed when you do not follow their wishes. Kindness that has a foundation and roots will always make those who are used to controlling you feel uncomfortable. But that is not a mistake. It is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. To shed light on this, Let us enter the next story about Kanchu himself, the one who taught an entire village that firmness is sometimes the greatest gift you can offer the world. Long ago, at the foot of Mount Akari, there was a small village surrounded by green hills and long terraces stretching like steps leading to the sky. The villagers were gentle, but they had a strange belief. They admired people who were soft, compliant, and agreeable, and considered that the standard of goodness. One day, Zen Master Kanchu came to live in an old temple in the valley. From the very beginning, he was respected by everyone. Whoever came for help, he listened. Whoever was sad, he comforted. However, what confused people was this: Kanchu never helped beyond his capacity, never sacrificed himself to please others. He was compassionate, but always accompanied by wisdom. He listened, but he knew where to stop. He was kind, but not easy to control. At first, everyone was satisfied, but during autumn that year, things began to change. A man named Toshiro brought a large sack of rice to the temple and said with great expectation, "Master, I offer this rice so you can perform a blessing ceremony for my entire family." Kanchu looked at the rice and smiled gently. "I acknowledge your sincerity, but a blessing ceremony cannot replace inner transformation. Your family is in conflict because you lack honest communication. Go home, speak truthfully with one another, and then return." Toshiro left disappointed and upset. In his heart, he thought that a blessing was the easiest way to solve everything, not changing himself. He muttered, "What kind of Zen master is this? So rigid." Rumors began to spread. Master Kanchu is getting difficult. He used to be so kind. Now he doesn't please anyone. Why isn't he as agreeable as before? Then came the matter of a young woman named Ayame. Her eyes were swollen from crying as she said, "Master, the one I love no longer cares about me. I want to leave this village. Please tell me what I should do." Kanchu looked at her for a long moment and replied, "Ayame, I cannot carry your decision for you. You must look deeply into your heart, because you are the one who must live with that choice." Ayame burst into tears. "Don't you care about me anymore? Why won't you tell me what to do?" She left feeling abandoned, even though Kanchu simply wanted her to be strong enough to face her own life. Not long after, a man named Taikyo brought 2 jars of wine, hoping the Zen master would bless his business. Kanchu shook his head. Wine carries the karma of its trade. Blessings cannot be purchased with wine. Taikyo became furious, smashed the jars, and shouted, "You look down on me!" The news spread quickly. Eventually, the villagers gathered at the temple demanding answers. Why are you no longer easy like before? Why won't you give advice according to what we want to hear? Why have you become rigid and difficult? Kanchu looked at each person and calmly said, "When you can no longer control me, you call my firmness rigid." He pointed to the large pine tree in front of the temple, its trunk straight, its roots deep, its shade covering the entire entrance. The pine stands firm, so the wind dislikes it. But it is the very tree that shelters everyone from sun and rain. His words fell like a temple bell ringing in the night. An elder lowered his head and softly asked, "Are we angry, simply because you no longer do what we want?" Kanchu smiled without defending or explaining. Sometimes silence is the voice of truth. After that day, the village slowly changed. Some people admitted their fault. Some quietly corrected themselves. Some still disliked him, but no longer disturbed him. And Zen Master Kanshū continued living peacefully, like a stream flowing through all 4 seasons, not resisting anyone, simply standing in the right place. From then on, the villagers learned, kindness is not always softness. Compassion is not about always pleasing others. And firmness is sometimes the highest form of love. Kanshū's sentence carries an entire layer of human psychology. When people lose control over you, they call your firmness a problem. In Zen, this is called mind reflection. Other people's reactions to you do not define who you are. They reveal who they are. The wise will see your boundaries as maturity. The selfish will see your boundaries as defiance. The manipulative will see your boundaries as a threat. Those who truly love you will see your boundaries as honesty. Psychology calls this phenomenon reaction to lost control. When you stand up for yourself, others feel a loss of power, and they label your firmness with negative names to push you back into the obedient version they once controlled. But Zen does not teach you to live for approval. Zen teaches you to look deeply within your own mind and stand firmly in the light of truth. Boundaries are part of wisdom, a major lesson from Kanshū's story. When you change, those who once controlled you will become upset. That is not your fault. It is simply human psychology. Firmness is not stubbornness. It is compassion for yourself. You were not born to become the emotional container of others. You have the right to protect your energy and well-being. Kindness must have roots and foundation. Kindness with roots is not blown around by other people's expectations. When you have roots, your heart becomes clearer, brighter, and deeper. Psychological research shows people with clear boundaries have lower cortisol levels, less stress, and stronger focus. They also sleep more deeply because their mind is no longer pulled by the expectations of others. Now, relax your shoulders. Breathe in deeply, exhale gently. Feel your breath like a breeze touching a quiet lake. Imagine the pine tree in front of Kanshū's temple. That tree does not force itself to be strong. It simply stands straight because that is its nature. Ask yourself, what in my life is causing me to collapse? Who becomes upset when I begin to stand tall? Is there a part of me that wants others to lead my life so I don't have to take responsibility? Each deep breath is a return to your inner strength. And when you fall asleep tonight, let your mind stand like that pine tree, firm without loudness, steady without effort. Firmness makes sleep deeper, because the mind is no longer exhausted from chasing other people's approval. And from Zen Master Kanshū's words, you will understand. Other people's reactions are not your reflection. They are their own. Those with clear minds will see your kindness as light. Those who take advantage will see your kindness as a ladder to climb. Their reactions are simply a projection of themselves, and that opens the next door in this journey, seeing others as seeing a mirror. In life, there is a paradox that confuses many kind-hearted people. Why can the same good action lead some to feel grateful while others take advantage of it? Why, when treating others with sincerity, some see it as light, while others see it as a ladder to climb and then step on? Zen teaches, other people's reactions to your kindness are reflections of their own state of mind, not your value. Just like the same lake, a peaceful mind sees its stillness, while a stormy heart only sees dark clouds within itself. Kindness is the same. It is not the problem. It is the mirror that reflects the other person's mind. Many people have sighed, "Why am I looked down on when I help? Why am I taken advantage of when I am gentle?" This is not the fault of kindness. It is a lesson in observing people as one would observe a mirror, to see what is being reflected from within them. Long ago, on a mountain covered with silver fog, there lived a Zen master named Raku. People said that just by standing next to him for a few minutes, the heart became as light as the early winter wind and as clear as morning dew. At the foot of the mountain, there was a small village that survived by growing rice and collecting forest herbs. Every morning, children climbed the rocky slope to collect spring water that Raku had channeled down from the mountain crevice. Water as pure as if filtered through the earth for thousands of years. One late autumn afternoon, the wind roared through the pine branches. Heavy clouds hung low as if touching the ground, signaling that rain was near. When the meditation hut door trembled lightly in the wind, a young student named Sato rushed up the stone steps, panting, his eyes red with anger. "Master, I was insulted." He knelt down, his voice choking as if he had swallowed a stone. Master Raku looked at him with eyes still and quiet like a late afternoon lake. "Tell me, what has stirred your mind like this raging wind?" Sato explained that while distributing the spring water in the village, someone scolded him, called him slow, treated what he did like an obligation to serve them, without a glance of appreciation, not even a single word of thanks. "I helped with full sincerity," Sato said through clenched teeth, "yet they belittled me. Does my kindness mean nothing?" Raku did not answer immediately. He simply stood up and signaled Sato to follow a small path that led to a pond halfway up the mountain. At that moment, the pond was being struck by strong winds, its surface swirling with distorted ripples like hundreds of shattered mirrors. "Look," Raku said. "What do you see?" Sato replied irritably. "Just distorted lines, nothing clear at all." Raku nodded, then spoke softly. "Stand still, do not move, do not speak, just wait." After a while, the wind weakened and finally stopped. The waves calmed. The pond became smooth like a mirror, reflecting the purple hue of dusk. At that moment, Sato's reflection appeared clearly. Every line, every breath. "Now what do you see?" Raku asked. Sato whispered, "I see myself clearly." Raku placed his warm hand on Sato's shoulder and spoke slowly. "When people are caught in their own storm, they cannot see you, no matter how beautiful you are. They only see the waves inside themselves. You offered kindness, but they looked with a mind full of wind. It is the wind that distorts the reflection, not the lake that is flawed." The wind passed gently through the pines. Sato stood silent, eyes on the calm mirror-like surface. He understood something he had never considered before. Kindness is not meant to be acknowledged or praised, but to keep one's inner lake clear. Whether others see it clear or muddy is not always determined by oneself. From that moment, Sato learned a truth not written in any scripture. Keep kindness like keeping a clear lake, not to reflect others, but to know yourself clearly. In the teachings, there is a principle called the dependent arising of the mind. Each person reacts from their karma, knowledge, memories, wounds, and state of awareness. What they see is not you. It is their mind projected onto you. A clear mind sees kindness as light. A wounded mind sees kindness as a threat. A calculating mind sees kindness as an opportunity to use. All of these responses are true according to their inner world. Modern psychology points out that people do not react to events but to their internal interpretation of those events. A person once abandoned will doubt kindness. A calculating person will assume everyone has hidden motives. A person who received healthy love will naturally welcome kindness. Your kindness does not determine their reaction. Their inner world determines how they see you. Therefore, Zen teaches, do not evaluate yourself through the eyes of others. Observe them to understand their mind. When someone appreciates you, it is because their heart is spacious. When someone exploits you, it is because their heart is lacking. When someone belittles you, it is their own darkness being revealed. Your kindness is only the mirror. They look into the mirror and see only themselves. In psychology, this is called projection. People throw their emotions, fears, or greed onto you as if you were the cause. But the truth is, you only reflect what they carry inside. Realizing this helps you suffer less, blame yourself less, and stop questioning why kindness is treated unfairly. When you understand that others are only reflecting their own mind, you step into a deeper stage of practice, examining your own intention. Zen teaches that not only actions matter, but the intention behind them determines everything. Some give to be loved, some help to be recognized, but some give because generosity is simply their nature. That is why the next part will lead you into the teaching. Zen teaches about inner motivation. Giving in order to be loved is attachment. Giving out of true generosity is liberation. Let us continue to the next doorway of this journey, to see clearly why inner intention can change the very nature of kindness. In life, everyone has once asked, why is it that sometimes I give so much, yet I feel exhausted? What makes a good action, which seems light, become a burden in the heart? Zen explains it in one simple sentence that startles many people. It is not the action that creates the heaviness, but the intention behind it. A bowl of water offered to someone out of compassion is as light as a cloud. But that same bowl of water, if offered to gain praise, affection, or remembrance, becomes as heavy as a stone. It is the intention that determines the entire energy of the action. Like fire, it can warm a room, or it can burn down an entire forest. It is not fire that is wrong. It is the hand that controls it. Kindness is the same. It is not kindness that causes pain. It is the expectation hidden inside that kindness that binds us. On the eastern mountain range, there was a small temple surrounded by tall bamboo forests, where the wind passing through the leaves sounded like distant bells of time. In that temple lived a Zen master named Yuka, known for being as calm and steady as the mountain rocks, with eyes as gentle as drifting clouds. Every morning, he went down to the village to receive alms, not because of lack, but to cultivate humility and train both body and mind not to place themselves above anyone. One day, a young man named Rinto asked to accompany him. Rinto was enthusiastic and liked helping people, but he carried something he did not realize himself. The more he helped, the more he wanted to be acknowledged. When no one expressed gratitude, he felt disappointed, hurt, and even angry. And that day, those feelings overflowed like a broken stream. On the way back, Rinto said in frustration, "Master, why does it feel so unfair? I always help others with sincerity, but they never appreciate it. They act like I am supposed to do it, as if it is my obligation." Yuka did not answer immediately. He stopped under an old eucalyptus tree, tall, deeply rooted, its leaves rustling like it was listening. He placed his alms bowl on the ground, then took a small amount of rice and gently placed it in Rinto's palm. "Do you feel this rice is heavy or light?" Yuka asked. "Light, of course," Rinto answered immediately. "Then if you keep your hand closed tightly and hold it all day, what will happen?" Rinto thought for a moment and said, "My hand will become tired and painful." Yuka smiled, his eyes kind but deep like the bottom of a mountain spring. "The rice is the same. It has not changed. What causes the pain is not the rice, but the way you hold it." The mountain wind blew through, and eucalyptus leaves fell like silent reminders floating in the air. Rinto lowered his head, feeling each word sinking into his heart. But Yuka continued, his voice slow and clear, not to scold, but to illuminate. "When you help someone, are you truly opening your hand like this? Or are you tightening your expectations, waiting for them to respond exactly the way you want?" The space became so still that even breathing could be heard. Rinto remained silent for a long time, then spoke softly, like a confession. "Maybe I help them because I want to be loved." Yuka nodded, his eyes serious yet full of compassion. "When you give in order to gain love, you are using action to buy emotion. And when they do not pay the price you expect, you suffer. You suffer not because of kindness, but because you are gripping it tightly." Yuka picked up a fallen leaf near his feet and placed it in Rinto's hand. Giving is like placing a leaf into the wind. If you release it, the wind will carry it naturally. If you hold it, it becomes a burden. Rinto looked at the small leaf in his hand, but in his mind, he saw himself giving throughout his life, yet always carrying an invisible rope that tied his heart. And for the first time, he understood. Giving is not only the action of the hand, but the generosity of the heart, without demanding, without trading, without waiting. In Buddhist teaching, there is a truth that seems simple, but penetrates deeply into the roots of the mind. The mind leads all actions. This means the most important thing is not what you do, but the true intention behind it. 3 people can help, smile, and offer something good, but do they share the same mind? The first does it out of compassion. The second does it to be loved, to validate their worth. The third does it out of fear of being abandoned. Their actions appear the same, but the karma is completely different because the mind determines the direction of the action, not the hands. Modern psychology calls this attachment behavior, conditional giving. We give not to help, but to exchange for emotions, affection, or recognition. Such action is no longer generosity. It becomes an invisible transaction. And once it becomes a transaction, expectations arise. Expectation brings disappointment. Disappointment becomes suffering. Meanwhile, actions rooted in pure compassion are as light as wind passing through the forest and as steady as mountain streams. They do not need witnesses, recognition, or return. They are like water, flowing because its nature is to flow, not because anyone praises or acknowledges it. Giving in the right way is not to receive, but to keep your heart as light as a falling leaf in the wind. When you feel tired from giving, do not rush to blame others. Look at your intention. If there is a need inside you to be loved, acknowledged, or seen as good, then every act of giving becomes a gamble on someone else's reaction. And the moment they do not respond as you wish, pain arises. If you give out of natural generosity, you will feel light, like breathing. You do it and then release it. You do not hold it. You do not demand. You do not measure. Many psychological studies show that the happiest people are those who give without identity, without recognition, without reputation. They have higher happiness indexes because their hearts are not bound by expectation. Buddha called it formless giving, giving without clinging to the giver, the gift, or the receiver. This is liberation within ordinary daily actions. When you understand that intention determines the quality of the mind, you will recognize a deeper lesson. Kindness not only needs purity but also the right form. Water is soft, yet it can carve stone. Softness creates compassion. Firmness creates boundaries. And spiritual practice is finding the balance between both. Therefore, the next part will lead you to a more refined teaching: softness and firmness. Kindness is like water, soft to understand others, but with boundaries to protect oneself. Let us step into the next part to clearly see why we need to be both soft like water and firm like stone, so that kindness does not overflow excessively and still retains its strength. In life, many people live kindly, yet end up at a disadvantage. Many people are generous, yet they are taken for granted. And then they carry a painful question inside. Should kindness be soft or firm? At what point is it compassion? And at what point does it become weakness? This is a deep paradox in spiritual life. Those who are too soft get hurt. Those who are too hard lose their compassion. Zen looks deeply and points out that kindness is like water. Water is soft, yet it can split rock. Water is gentle, yet strong enough to sweep away mountains and forests when it is not held within banks. Water is only truly powerful when it has form, boundaries, and awareness guiding it, just like each person's life. When boundaries are missing, kindness becomes a flood of uncontrolled water. When we are too rigid, we turn ourselves into a lifeless stone. One who truly practices is someone who learns the art of being soft enough to understand others and firm enough to protect themselves. On that day, at the foot of Mount Hakujin covered in mist, there was a small stream that stayed clear all year round, so cold that just touching it with a fingertip felt like touching the original breath of heaven and earth. People in the area believed that this stream had a heart. If you came to take water with a peaceful mind, the water tasted sweet. If you brought dissatisfaction, the water would become bland and hard to drink. Right beside the stream was a large rock, covered in green moss over the years, standing there for hundreds of years without moving despite storms and rains. People called it the pillar stone of the mind, a symbol of steadiness, stillness, and stability amidst change. One morning, a young novice named Koga followed Zen Master Dayan up the mountain to practice. Koga was loved by everyone for his gentle nature and willingness to help anyone with anything, big or small. But the more he helped, the more exhausted he became. Some people were grateful, some took advantage, and some treated his kindness as an entitlement. That created a nameless pain in Koga's heart. Why did the better he was, the more he was taken lightly? When they reached the stream, Koga spoke. His voice choked as if blending into the sound of flowing water. Master, why is it that the kinder I am, the more I am looked down on? I want to be soft so I can love people, but they think I am someone easy to use. Zen Master Dayan did not answer right away. He looked down at the shimmering stream in the sunlight and gently asked, "What do you see in the water?" "The water is gentle, pure, and always knows how to flow where it needs to flow, Master." Dayan nodded. Then he placed his hand on the moss-covered rock beside them and asked, "And what about the rock?" "The rock is hard, strong, and stands still. Nothing can move it." Dayan picked up a small pebble and dropped it into the stream. As soon as it touched the surface, it was swept away and disappeared without a trace. Then he picked up a large branch and placed it across the water. The stream tried to turn it, to push it, and carried it a short distance. But when it hit the rock, it stopped, stuck there, spinning in place. "Do you see something?" Dayan asked, his eyes kind but deep. "Water is kind. It knows how to hold and contain. But without banks, it is easily carried along by whatever falls into it. No matter how pure it is, if it does not know where to go, water can become a destructive flood." He moved his hand back onto the rock and continued slowly. "And the rock, it still stands there. It does not chase after anyone, and no one can control it. Water can flow around the rock, embrace it, even wear it down over time, but it cannot make the rock lose its nature." Koga fell silent, his gaze following the meeting of water and rock. One soft, one hard, one moving, one still, yet existing together without conflict. Dayan continued, his voice as soft as the mountain wind. "Water without the steadiness of rock is weak. Rock without the flexibility of water becomes dry and rigid. A person who knows how to live carries both in one heart, soft enough to deeply understand, but firm enough to keep their boundaries. Koga slowly lowered his head. So, kindness also needs banks. Diane smiled, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Without banks, water cannot become a stream. Without boundaries, kindness cannot become wisdom. The wind passed through the forest, and the rustling leaves sounded as if they were agreeing. The stream kept flowing, gentle but decisive, and the rock kept standing there, steady and free. And in Koga's heart, a new truth opened. Being kind is not about letting everyone walk in, but knowing when to open and when to close. The Buddha taught, compassion must go along with wisdom. Without wisdom, compassion turns into self-harm. Kindness, if based only on emotion, is like water without banks. Anyone can step into it. Anyone can stir it up. Anyone can force it to change direction. That is no longer kindness, but a lack of boundaries disguised as compassion. Psychology calls this phenomenon compassion fatigue, exhaustion caused by kindness. It happens when the giver does not distinguish between genuine compassion and the need to be accepted, loved, or praised. Water is only strong when the stream bed guides it. A person is only steady when boundaries protect their inner world. In Zen, boundaries mean knowing how to say no when necessary, knowing how to stop when it goes beyond your strength, knowing how to keep distance from those who do not respect you, and knowing that compassion does not mean letting others trample on you. A heart without boundaries will be hurt before it has a chance to mature. In daily life, many people unintentionally get stuck in two opposite extremes, either becoming too soft or becoming too hard. When you are too soft, you are easily exploited, dismissed, and pulled into responsibilities that are not yours. But when you are too hard, you become cut off from others, less connected, and feel lonely inside your own armor. Only when you balance both, soft enough to understand, but firm enough to protect yourself, can you live with compassion while still keeping inner peace. You can help others, but not hand them the power to control your life. You can love, but not trade away your identity. You can listen, but you are not required to be the container for all of others' pressures and wounds. Modern psychology has shown that people who set clear boundaries tend to have more stable mental health, less resentment, and more harmonious lives. This aligns completely with the Buddha's teaching. Guarding oneself is wisdom. Understanding others is compassion. And only when both are present can we walk the middle way in a complete way. When you understand the art of balancing softness and firmness, you step into a deeper layer of practice. Kindness must have wisdom leading it. If not, kindness will sweep itself away, like water without banks. That is also the profound teaching of an ancient Zen master. Kindness without wisdom is a river without a bank. Without wisdom, kindness is nothing more than floodwater. The next part will lead you to the teaching of Master Ryo Kansei, who showed the path for kindness to become strength instead of a burden. Have you ever wondered why some people who live with true kindness always end up being the ones who suffer loss? why those with generous hearts are treated as if their giving is a duty others are entitled to rely on. And what hurts many people the most is not giving, but giving until exhaustion, while no one recognizes their fatigue. In Buddhist teachings, there is a core principle that many overlook. Compassion must go together with wisdom. If these two fall out of balance, kindness becomes a powerful river with no riverbank, eventually drowning itself without anyone noticing. Just like someone who is too gentle and too forgiving, yet does not have boundaries. Like someone who only knows how to help, but does not know how to save breath for themselves. A person like that not only becomes exhausted, but also loses the purity of their own kindness. Master Ryokansei once said, "Kindness without wisdom is a river without a bank." Kindness without wisdom is like water without river banks. It will wash itself away before anyone else does. Long ago, at the foot of an ancient mountain range, there was a vast valley known as the Valley of Generosity. In that place, a crystal-clear river flowed quietly, nourishing both sides of the land. People drank from it, bathed in it, watered crops, fed livestock, and no one ever worried that it would run dry. It was so gentle that anyone could take as much as they wanted. No permission needed, no gratitude required. During rainy seasons, the water rose high, but it slowed itself to avoid flooding. In drought, it stretched itself through every crack of soil, hoping even its last drop could reach the thirsty fields. The river never said enough, never asked, "Who will care for me?" It only knew how to give, as if it was born solely for that purpose. One morning, Master Ryokansei brought his young disciple Aseki to the river. Aseki was known for his gentle heart, both in the monastery and the village. He helped anyone who asked, comforted anyone who was sad, and tried to fulfill any request, even when he was already exhausted. Aseki's kindness was so abundant that everyone treated it as something they deserved, not something to be respected. But that same gentleness made him more and more drained. His face became gaunt, his voice weakened like fading morning mist, and at night his mind was tangled with concerns that were not his, worrying for others, hurting for others, and constantly chasing the approval of people who did not truly love him. Standing by the river, Ryokansei asked softly, "Tell me, what do you see here?" Aseki answered immediately, "It is gentle, generous, and never stops giving." Ryokansei scooped water into his palm. Within seconds, the water slipped through his fingers and disappeared. "You see that?" he said. "The river gives endlessly, but because it has no boundaries, it cannot keep its own shape." He pointed toward an area nearby where the land had eroded. Trees leaned dangerously, and houses had fallen into the water. When giving becomes excessive, it does not only harm itself, it also harms what it wished to protect. Aseki fell silent, his heart aching as if someone had spoken the truth he feared to face. Ryokansei looked deeply into his eyes and said, "You are not exhausted because you help people. You are exhausted because you cannot differentiate between compassion and the fear of being abandoned. You help because you want to be loved, not because you truly love." Tears fell from Aseki's eyes before he could wipe them away. Ryokansei pointed to the remaining strong part of the river, where large stones formed a stable bank. Water is strong because it has banks. People are strong because they have wisdom. Kindness becomes strong because it knows when to say no, he continued, his voice calm but sharp like the first wind of winter. You were not born to be a well that anyone can drain until empty. You were born to be water that flows with direction, with origin, and with purity meant to guide. The wind blew softly, yellow leaves fell to the water, and the river carried them away, but only along its own path, without resistance and without losing itself. That day, Aseki understood. Kindness without wisdom will eventually become the path to one's own disappearance. In Zen, the motivation behind an action matters more than the action itself. A person who helps with true compassion carries gentle, long-lasting energy. But someone who helps because they fear being disliked, fear losing their kind image, fear disappointing others, will carry an energy heavy as stone, and the more they give, the more they collapse. The Buddha taught, no one can pour water from an empty vessel. Kindness needs boundaries, just like water needs riverbanks. Riverbanks are not coldness, they are wisdom. If the receiver is grateful, kindness becomes blessing. If the receiver sees it as entitlement, kindness becomes burden. If the receiver exploits it, kindness becomes wound. Therefore, in Zen, to give is compassion, to stop is wisdom. Only both create the path of true living. Modern psychology also confirms people who cannot set boundaries often experience emotional burnout, insomnia, loss of self-respect, and are easily drawn into toxic relationships. This aligns perfectly with Ryokansei's teaching. Kindness without wisdom is a river without a bank. You may observe yourself. Have you ever helped someone until you lost your own breath? Have you ever said yes while your heart wanted to say no? Have you ever feared rejection so much that you could not sleep? If your answer is yes, then you are like that gentle river, always flowing, always giving, but without banks to protect yourself. Kindness without wisdom will lead to 3 consequences. You become exhausted. Others value you less and less. You lose the purity of your own kindness. Setting boundaries is how you keep your own breath. A gentle refusal can sometimes nourish a lifetime of practice, not only for you, but also for others to understand that love does not equal exploitation. A riverbank makes water strong. A boundary makes kindness sustainable. Every night before sleeping, you may practice a simple meditation. Sit or lie comfortably. Breathe slowly, softly, deeply. Imagine a river in your mind. See the water soft and pure. Then imagine 2 solid riverbanks on each side. See the water flowing with form, direction, and stability. Let that image soak into you. It is the image of kindness guided by wisdom. When there are boundaries, the mind becomes light. When the mind becomes light, the body becomes peaceful. When the body is peaceful, sleep becomes deep. And with deep sleep, tomorrow becomes clearer. When you truly understand that kindness cannot exist without wisdom, you will also see it clearly in the next story. The disciple in the beginning gave until he lost his own breath. Only when he paused, protected his energy, and set a gentle boundary did he realize a well-timed refusal can be a gift far greater than 1,000 acts of giving. And that begins the next lesson, the disciple's exhaustion, and how one timely no saved his entire path of practice. There is a silent but sharp paradox. Many people believe that the more they give, the bigger their heart becomes, and the more their compassion is proven. Yet not everyone sees the other side of kindness. Sometimes giving too much makes the heart wither, like a stream drained to its very last drop. On the spiritual path, many people become exhausted while still believing they are doing good. They forget that both body and mind also need nourishment, and that compassion never requires a person to erase their own existence. Zen masters often gently ask their students, "When you give, is it the light of compassion or the fear of being seen as selfish?" Many remain silent because the question touches the deepest place they always try to avoid. Like a candle that constantly tries to light others, if it does not have enough protection from the wind, the flame will go out before it can fully shine in its lifetime. Practice is not only learning how to give, but also how to keep enough warmth inside so that the inner light does not turn into ashes. And from here, the old story opens a new chapter about a disciple who gave so much that he lost his very breath. Long ago, among mist-covered mountain slopes, there was an old temple hidden under the quiet forest trees. In that temple lived a young disciple named Ryota. From the moment he entered the Zen gate, Ryota carried a strong desire. He must become the kindest person. He must make everyone love him and recognize his goodness. He worked tirelessly, carrying water from the stream, chopping wood in the forest, cooking before chanting time, sweeping the yard so thoroughly that the leaves fell without him noticing, and constantly caring for the elderly in the village. Anyone who called, he appeared. Anyone who asked, he bowed and agreed. At first, people saw him as gentle, sincere, and admirable. But over time, they began to assume that everything he did was his obligation. Tasks that were not his responsibility, duties that never belonged to him, were slowly pushed onto his shoulders as if it were perfectly normal. There were days when Ryota worked from before sunrise until the oil lamp almost burned out. The flame flickered weakly while he leaned against the meditation room door, his breath faint like the sound of the wind. Yet he still smiled the same familiar smile. As long as everyone is happy, that's enough. Until one evening, mountain rain arrived suddenly. Strong winds blew. Thunder shook the hills, and the nearby stream rose violently. Villagers panicked and ran to the temple for help. Without hesitation, Ryota ran straight into the rushing water, carrying sandbags and helping people cross the freezing current. His face turned pale, but his steps never stopped. Finally, while fighting the raging water, Ryota slipped and fell. The villagers pulled him out in fear, his body cold and his breath weakening. When he opened his eyes, he saw the Zen master sitting beside him, calm and deep like an autumn lake. The master gently asked, "Why did you push yourself until you collapsed in the middle of the stream?" Ryota said nothing, only lowered his head. The master placed an old clay pot in front of him and said, "Pour water into this pot and share it with everyone." Ryota did as told. and after only a few servings, the pot became empty. The master looked at him and said, "When the pot is already empty and you still try to pour, the only thing left is the sound of wind. Your breath, your strength, and your spiritual life are just like this pot. If you do not keep what you need, you will have nothing left to give," Ryota whispered, trembling. "But if I refuse, they will be sad," the master slowly responded. "Not everyone is sad because they lack help. Sometimes they are only sad because they did not receive what they wanted. Refusing at the right time is part of wisdom, not the lack of compassion." Ryota looked at the empty pot, and for the first time he realized he was not exhausted because of too many tasks, but because he was afraid others might think he was not good enough. The rain stopped. The sky slowly cleared. Afternoon light glimmered through the moss-covered roof tiles. Ryota knelt and bowed deeply before the master. And in that moment, a new inner stream began flowing, quiet but strong, like water finding its true direction. This story is not telling you to stop helping others. It reminds that good deeds without wisdom become the source of suffering. In Buddhist teachings, there is something called misguided compassion, when kindness comes from fear, from the need to be acknowledged, from the desire to prove oneself. In that case, an action that looks virtuous will make the mind tired, drain energy, and drift away from true awareness. Ryota was not exhausted because he helped others. He was exhausted because he could not say no. Fear distorted his kindness into obligation, into burden, into an invisible net that trapped his inner freedom. According to the teachings, to help others correctly, the heart must have three elements: compassion, the wish for others to be well; wisdom, knowing when to help and when to preserve energy; boundaries, knowing when to stop in order to protect one's own breath. Without wisdom, compassion runs dry. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a blade that turns back and wounds oneself. In life, many people fall into the same situation as Ryota, working without rest to keep others pleased, accepting extra responsibility out of fear of judgment, helping even when already exhausted, not knowing how to say a gentle no. And when someone lives like that for too long, the inner world easily falls into three states: emotional exhaustion. The heart becomes tired and joy disappears. Accumulated stress. The body tightens and the breath shortens. Losing connection with oneself, no longer knowing what one truly wants. Modern psychology shows that those who cannot set boundaries are more likely to experience chronic burnout, loss of motivation, insomnia, and even mild depression. Buddhist teachings always remind, mindfulness is knowing what you are doing and knowing when you must stop. Stopping is not selfish. Stopping is caring for your own breath so that compassion can continue to bloom. A gentle refusal can heal both sides. The one who says it carries less burden. The one who hears it learns how to stand on their own. Before sleeping, the mind often carries what is left unresolved. Over-effort, pressure, and the things you did beyond your capacity to please others. Before going to bed, the master invites you to practice a simple breathing exercise to restore your energy. Sit or lie down comfortably. Inhale deeply, feeling the breath like cool water flowing into your heart. Exhale softly, releasing responsibilities that do not belong to you. Place your hand on your chest and silently say, "Allow yourself to keep your own energy." This breathing practice not only helps you relax, but reminds the mind that you have the right to stop, the right to care for yourself, and the right not to carry the burden of appearing good in others' eyes. When the breath becomes light, sleep becomes deep. When the mind is nourished, compassion will naturally bloom like a flower without effort. Ryota only understood when the pot became empty in his hands. Kindness without wisdom led him into exhaustion. But when he learned to preserve energy, his kindness did not disappear. It simply changed form, from blind sacrifice to awakened love. And from here, we step into the next layer of this journey. When kindness no longer seeks recognition, it becomes a natural radiance. No one can harm it because it does not depend on exchange. That is the transformation of kindness. And the next part of the story we will explore together. There is a secret in the journey of inner maturity that few people recognize. Kindness is only truly beautiful when it does not depend on the recognition of others. Many people give with their whole heart, but still carry a small expectation, a little gratitude, a gentle look, or simply the minimum amount of respect. When those things do not come, the heart becomes easily hurt, like a fragile petal meeting strong wind. But in Zen teachings, there is a profound paradox. When kindness no longer demands a return, it becomes freedom, just like the moonlight. The moon shines upon the surface of the lake, not because it needs the lake to reflect how beautiful it is. The moon still shines, whether the lake is calm and clear or filled with trash. Human kindness is the same. When it is no longer tied to exchange, it becomes a natural light. Under the high pine forest, where every breeze carries the fresh scent of resin, there was an ancient temple hidden behind a thin layer of mist. In that temple, there was a young disciple named Kayan, who always carried a deep desire. He must become the kindest person, the one everyone must acknowledge. From the day he entered the temple gates, Kayan never rested. He swept the courtyard for his fellow monks, carried water from a dried well, repaired roof tiles, cleaned bowls and chopsticks, helped villagers fix their doors, carried firewood, and even wiped each window before anyone noticed dust. When praised, he only bowed his head and said, "I only did a small thing." When no one noticed, he tried to do even more, hoping that someday everyone would appreciate his heart. That winter, the cold wind arrived earlier than any previous year, and snow covered everything from the temple gate to each stone step. At that moment, something inside Kayan began to crack. One morning, when the snow reached nearly to his knees, Kayan quietly shoveled snow to open a path for visitors. His breath dissolved into the freezing air, his hands numb, but his eyes remained determined. When he finished clearing a section of the path, a group of people walked by, stepping right onto the snow he had just cleared, sending snow flying all over his clothes and face. There was no apology, no look of gratitude. No one even noticed his presence. Kyan stood still, his emotions tightening like someone had bound his heart with an invisible rope. The sadness was not loud, not angry. It was like a thin needle piercing the softest part of the heart. That night, Kyan went to see the Zen master in a small hut. The oil lamp cast its light on the master's face, still as an autumn lake, yet containing deep understanding within. Kyan sighed and spoke softly. "Master, I feel that my kindness is being taken for granted." Without any comforting words, the Zen master stood up, lit another oil lamp, and placed it in the snowy courtyard. The wind blew hard, snow fell heavily, but the flame still burned, trembling gently, but never going out. He asked, "What do you see?" Kyan replied, his voice still trembling slightly. "The lamp is still shining, even though no one is here to look at it." The master nodded and smiled as if he had long waited for that answer. The light of the lamp does not exist to be praised. It shines because that is its nature. When kindness lives through expectation, it wants to be seen and is easily hurt. But if kindness shines because it is simply the right thing, then wind, snow, or the indifference of others cannot extinguish it. Kyan gazed at the lamp for a long time. That small flame remained peaceful in the wind and snow, not proud, not needing witnesses, simply living its true nature. That night, Kyan went back outside and continued sweeping snow. The sky was cold. The wind still blew. No one watched. No one knew what he was doing. But this time, his attitude had changed. No longer carrying eyes that searched for recognition, but a calmness that came from understanding the value of his actions. For the first time, Kyan was not doing it to be seen. He did it because it made his heart shine. Kyan's story touches a very basic but difficult to practice teaching: selflessness within good deeds. In everyday life, many people believe they are kind, but behind that lies the desire to be acknowledged. This is the subtle trap of the ego. If others express gratitude, we feel happy. If others ignore it, we feel sad. If others demand more, we become upset. Therefore, that kindness is not entirely for others, but also for the ego that wants to be recognized. Zen teaches that when good deeds no longer leave space for the ego to enter, the mind becomes free. At that point, kindness becomes like a lamp in the night, not exhausted because of its own light, not disappointed due to the lack of admirers, not frightened when forgotten. That is kindness that has transformed from dependent to free, from expecting to peaceful. In modern psychology, this state is called altruism without attachment. Most people who reach this state are less easily hurt, less expectant, and able to maintain inner stillness. Buddhist teachings call this compassion with wisdom. You may recognize yourself in Kyan. You help others quietly, but sometimes still hope for gratitude. You try for others, but feel disappointed when not acknowledged. You are kind, but your heart is easily hurt by indifference. Those feelings are not wrong. They simply show that kindness is still dependent. So how can kindness become more free? Recognize expectations within yourself. Whenever you do something, ask, Am I doing this from kindness or because I want to be loved? Do what is right, not because you need to be seen. The mind becomes half lighter when expectation is released. Set boundaries so kindness does not become exhausted. Healthy kindness always goes with wisdom. Scientific research shows that people who practice compassion with boundaries tend to be happier and less stressed because they give without hurting themselves. Wise kindness is not closing the door to life. It is simply how you keep your heart warm so its light can go farther. Before sleeping, the mind often carries things from the day. What you did for others, the words you never heard back, and the small but lingering wounds. The Zen master wants you to gently release it through this practice. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, feeling warmth entering your chest. Breathe out, releasing each expectation you are holding inside. Silently say, "My kindness does not need recognition." That breath helps soften the mind. When the mind softens, sleep comes more gently. Let your heart become the oil lamp in the night. Quiet, warm, not dependent on anyone standing beside it. When kindness no longer seeks acknowledgement, it becomes natural illumination. And when kindness is free, it also knows how to protect itself. No one can hurt it anymore because it is not tied to exchange. From here, the journey continues into another story, a story about boundaries and compassion. It is the story of Zen Master Hakusen, who always kept the stone gate of the temple slightly open until one day he closed it. Why would a person full of compassion close a door? And what does that teach about boundaries and compassion? In life, everyone has faced a paradox that seems hard to explain. The kinder you are, the easier you get hurt. The more open-hearted you are, the easier your boundaries are crossed. It sounds wrong, but it is actually how things work when a person has not yet learned how to establish healthy boundaries. In the teachings, compassion does not only have a soft side, but also a firm side: protection. Compassion is not letting others come and go in your life however they want. Compassion has awakened eyes, knowing when to open the door to help someone and when to close the door so you do not lose yourself. The easiest image to understand is a lamp in the wind. If the flame is left completely exposed, even a light breeze is enough to blow it out. But if you cover it too tightly with your hand, the light cannot shine out. Between those two extremes, a practitioner needs to learn one important skill: open at the right time and close in the right place. On a hillside covered with green moss, surrounded by tall, ancient pine trees, there was an old temple standing still in the mist like the breath of time. That temple was famous throughout the region for its ancient stone gate, so heavy it took 4 people to move it. Yet for many years, it had always been kept slightly open, just enough for one person to pass through. People saw it as a symbol of the gentle, all-embracing heart of Zen Master Hakusen, the abbot who lived simply, spoke little, but was as deep as a mountain. Every day, pilgrims came to seek teachings, the poor came for help, and those in distress came for comfort. No matter where they came from or with what kind of heart, the Zen master would receive them and had never sent anyone away empty-handed. Villagers often said, "As long as the stone gate is slightly open, it means compassion still lives there. Until one early winter morning, when white mist still lay on the cold stone steps, everyone suddenly saw the temple gate shut tight. No opening, no light shining through, no morning bell. The whole area was stirred. Has Master Hakusen changed? Is there some crisis inside the temple? Does he no longer wish to receive anyone? When a young novice stepped out to sweep the courtyard, the crowd hurried over to ask, but he simply said softly, "Today, Master is keeping the gate closed." Short, with no explanation, but that sentence was like a small spark thrown into a pile of dry leaves, causing rumors to spread quickly through the villages below the mountain. Some were disappointed, some were angry, and some began to say that the Zen master was no longer as compassionate as before. By noon, a scholar, who had long respected Hakusen, decided to come and ask directly. A disciple led him to the back courtyard. Under an old cypress tree covered in moss, the Zen master sat in stillness, his eyes gentle but sharp, as if understanding impermanence completely. The scholar bowed and said, "Master, people are saying that you have changed. Why is the stone gate, which was always left slightly open, now completely closed?" The Zen master did not answer right away. He pointed toward the gate and asked, "Do you think that gate is heavy?" "Yes, very heavy. If the gate is always open, then good people, not so good people, those who want to learn, and those who only want to take advantage, all will come in. Is that truly complete compassion?" The scholar was silent. The Zen master continued, his voice soft but penetrating like the sound of a night stream. "Compassion is not leaving the door open unconditionally. Compassion is knowing when to open to save others, and when to close to save yourself." A yellow leaf fell into his hand. The master gently released it to the wind, then said, "If the gate is always open, I cannot distinguish between those who truly need a path and those who only seek a place to dump their burdens onto someone else. Some come because they want to learn, but some come simply because they see an easy doorway." He slowly concluded, "Today I closed the gate, so people will understand that compassion must have a center, have roots, and be guided by wisdom." The scholar bowed deeply, with nothing left to ask. From that day on, the stone gate was no longer just an inanimate object. It became a symbol of knowing how to open with compassion and close with wisdom. The story is simple, but holds many important layers of meaning for practitioners and for anyone living in the world. Compassion does not mean opening the door to everyone. A heart without boundaries easily becomes the place where others dump all of their chaos. Compassion is only truly complete when it goes together with wisdom. Opening the door at the right time is saving others. Those who arrive with the right readiness are received, guided, and transformed. Closing the door in the right place is saving yourself. Those who come with a mindset of taking advantage will naturally leave. Those who are not yet ready will learn a lesson about respect. In modern psychology, this is called boundaries, healthy limits. Research shows people who set clear boundaries are less likely to burn out, less likely to be manipulated, and tend to have a higher level of inner peace. Buddhist teachings have said this for thousands of years. There must be compassion, but there must also be wisdom. There must be loving kindness, but there must also be insight. Boundaries in life are not meant to push others away. Boundaries are there to keep us from being swept away by expectations, demands, or exploitation. When you know when to open and when to close, you no longer feel exhausted from being the unconditionally good person. You no longer attract people who are used to taking advantage. You preserve your energy for what is truly worthy. The Buddha taught, to keep right mindfulness, you must first keep body and mind from being pulled away. Boundaries are the gentle wall that protects that mindfulness. The stone gate of Hakusen teaches this. When compassion has boundaries, it becomes steady, bright, and no longer easily hurt. But setting boundaries alone is not enough. You must also know when to stop giving, and that is another lesson in Zen. For this reason, generations of disciples later sought out another teaching from a famous Zen master, Master Jiku. He said, "A river that flows endlessly becomes a flood. A river that keeps flowing without stopping will eventually drown the very things it wanted to nourish." And that is where the next story begins. In life, many times you were taught, keep giving as much as you can, keep being good as much as you can, keep being gentle as much as you can, and everything will turn out well. But there is a truth that few people dare to face. Giving in the wrong place will make you exhausted. Kindness without limits becomes self-destruction. This is the paradox that Zen has long pointed out. It is not the more you give, the better. It is giving at the right time, to the right people, within your real capacity. That is what truly makes kindness wholesome. Imagine a stream flowing down a mountain. If the water flows at a moderate level, it nourishes the fields, sustains life, and brings beauty to the land. But if the water keeps flowing endlessly without boundaries, it becomes a flood, washing everything away. So what turns gentle water into a destructive flood? Only one thing: not knowing how to stop. In the Kasahara Mountains, where silver clouds swirl around rocky slopes all year long, and the sound of the pine trees resembles an endless sutra, there was a small monastery led by Zen master Jiku. People in the region respected him for his deep wisdom, teachings as light as clouds, yet as penetrating as rain. But anyone who had practiced beside him for a long time clearly knew. Behind his gentleness was an unshakable inner strength. One summer evening, after the rain had just stopped, drops of water clung to the oak leaves like sparkling pearls. A young disciple named Ensato quietly came to the Zen master with a tired appearance. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, and his voice was hoarse from holding in his feelings for too long. "Master, I don't understand why the more I help others, the more exhausted I become. I give a lot, but what I receive back is dependence, not gratitude." Jiku looked at Ensato without blaming or questioning, and only said with a gentle smile, "Follow me." He walked slowly to the back of the monastery. There, a small stream wound through moss-covered rocks, its water flowing softly like the whisper of the mountain. But just a few steps farther, where the stream fell into a deep, rocky ravine, the water instantly transformed into a powerful waterfall, foaming white and roaring like thunder. Jiku asked, "Do you see the difference between these two parts of the same water?" And Sato answered, One is calm, the other is violent. Jiku bent down, picked up a dry twig, and dropped it into the rushing stream. It was swept away instantly and disappeared in a blink. He spoke lightly, but each word carried weight. Gentle water or violent water is still water. The only difference is the amount of flow. It is the same with kindness. Its nature does not change, but how it is used determines the result. Ensato remained silent, as if something inside him had begun to resonate. Jiku continued. A river that flows endlessly becomes a flood. A river that keeps flowing without knowing when to stop will eventually become a flood. He looked directly into Ensato's eyes, his voice slow and steady, striking at the root of the issue. A person who keeps giving without knowing how to stop will create two outcomes. The receiver becomes dependent and loses motivation to grow. The giver becomes depleted and loses themselves. Ensato bowed his head, his heart heavy like a stone soaking in water. Then, Master, what should I do? The Zen master walked toward the edge of the stream and used a stick to trace a long line on the ground. Do you see this line? Yes, I do. That is the bank. Without banks, water becomes a flood. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a burden. He exhaled softly, as if breathing in rhythm with the mountains and forest. Keeping a portion for yourself is not selfishness, but so the water remains pure enough to nourish plants. Giving without knowing when to stop plants the seed of dependence. Holding back at the right time plants the seed of growth. Ensato stood silently in front of the stream, listening to the waterfall blend with the wind, feeling the cool air rise from the deep ravine. For the first time, the teaching, "Just keep giving," which he once deeply believed, became clearer than ever. It is not giving as much as possible that matters. It is giving when the heart is still full, still clear, still free. Jiku's story reveals multiple layers of meaning. Not all acts of giving are compassion. Sometimes it is only a habit of satisfying the ego that wants to be seen as a good person. Compassion does not nurture dependency. Helping someone stand up is wholesome, but allowing them to rely on you forever, that lacks wisdom. In the Abhidhamma, wholesome mind always goes together with wisdom. In Zen, clarity always requires boundaries. The giver must be full before giving. The Buddha taught, a person who does not know how to love themselves cannot love anyone correctly. A depleted heart only creates suffering for both sides. Modern psychology calls this compassion fatigue. Researchers show that when someone keeps giving without restoring energy, they easily fall into emotional exhaustion, insomnia, decreased motivation, anxiety, feeling used. This is not because they are bad, but because they have no banks. In life, you may have experienced moments when you helped someone so much that they saw it as normal. You agreed to every request because you feared disappointing others. You feared saying no because you feared being judged. You always tried to give more than your strength allowed. Those things are not compassion. They are lack of boundaries, the water that flows endlessly that Jiku spoke of. Remember, preserving healthy energy is part of spiritual cultivation. saying no at the right time is a teaching. Stopping in the right place is a form of wisdom. When you learn to preserve yourself, your giving becomes more meaningful, brighter, and no longer mixed with expectation or fear. Jiku's lesson is clear. Giving a lot is not wisdom. Knowing when to stop is the foundation of sustainable compassion. But how should you preserve? How much is enough? How full should your heart be before giving so that it remains bright, wholesome, and pure? There is a paradox in life that many people fail to recognize. Those who want to become good and kind people are often the ones who become exhausted the most. Not because they lack kindness, but because their inner state is not full enough to nourish what they want to give. Why do some people give so much yet feel hurt, disappointed, or disrespected? Why do some people feel more exploited the more they help others? And why does kindness sometimes turn into a burden instead of a source of light? Buddhist teachings say, when the mind is not full, actions become empty. When the mind is not clear, kindness becomes cloudy. Just like an empty bowl, no matter how much water you pour into it, it still becomes dirty and never feels enough. But a full bowl, with just a slight tilt, can overflow with clear and pure water. The following Zen story will clarify this. Kindness does not come from weakness. It always takes root from inner strength. On Mount Kase, where white clouds drift as if whispering to ancient moss-covered temple roofs, there lived a seasoned Zen master named Oshinden. His monastery was not famous for grand Dharma talks, nor for golden Buddha statues or shelves of scriptures. What made the place extraordinary were the very small, real-life teachings that would stay in the listener's mind for many years. One early winter afternoon, cold air swept across the valley carrying the scent of old pine trees. A thin mist covered the temple courtyard like a soft silver cloth, while the wind brushed against the roof tiles, sounding like the sigh of the mountains. In the meditation hall, the disciples sat upright, breathing steadily, but all were nervous because today the master said he would teach a lesson without using scriptures. Zen Master Oshinden entered, walking slowly and peacefully. He did not speak about doctrine, nor did he begin with formal teachings. Instead, he placed 2 earthen bowls in front of his disciples. One bowl was filled with clear water, reflecting a faint blue glow from the mountain. The other was nearly empty, with dust and dry moss visible on the bottom. He asked softly, but the question sounded like a challenge. "Which bowl do you think holds more beautiful water?" A young disciple quickly answered without thinking, "Master, the full bowl." Oshinden smiled, nodded slightly, and pointed at the empty bowl. "If we pour fresh water into this bowl, what will happen?" The hall fell silent. Another disciple replied with slight hesitation, "The water will immediately become dirty because the dust at the bottom has not been cleaned." The master nodded and continued, "And what about the full bowl? Just tilting it slightly will make the water flow out." Still as clear as it was, at that moment, a gentle mountain breeze blew, and a few dry leaves fell onto the wooden floor, making a faint echo throughout the meditation hall. Oshinden looked deeply into each student's eyes and spoke slowly but sharply. Whoever wants to give beautifully must be full first. Giving from an empty mind only makes the receiver more cloudy and the giver more tired. The room fell into silence. An older disciple who had gone through many hardships asked in a low voice, "Master, how can we know whether our mind is full or empty?" Oshinden did not answer immediately. He looked out toward the forest of pine trees darkening in the late afternoon, as if letting nature speak for him. Then he said slowly, "When you give and your heart does not feel regretful, tired, or expect anything in return, that is a full mind. When you give and wait for recognition, feel exhausted, or feel hurt when you are not appreciated, that is an empty mind." He lifted the full bowl. The water here represents inner stillness. When the mind is nourished by breath, mindfulness, and understanding, kindness naturally becomes clear and flows out effortlessly. Then he lifted the empty bowl. And this bowl represents a mind that has not been cared for. You cannot pour purity into a bowl full of dust and expect it to remain pristine. Finally, Oshinden concluded, firm yet gentle. Kindness is not about giving as much as possible. True kindness is giving while you are still full of life. To become a truly kind person, you must first learn to become strong and know how to nourish yourself. Oshinden's teaching reflects a fundamental truth in Buddhism. Compassion cannot be born from weakness. Compassion is the strength of a mind trained through mindfulness, understanding, letting go of unnecessary expectations, seeing clearly into one's own nature. In the Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha repeatedly emphasized that practitioners must know how to care for their body and mind before helping others, not because of selfishness, but because if the mind is not full, how can it nourish anyone? An empty mind expresses itself in three forms: giving to be recognized, giving out of fear of being abandoned, giving to fill an inner void. These forms of giving are not pure. They are like the empty bowl. The more you pour in, the dirtier it becomes. A full mind expresses three qualities: giving out of understanding that everyone is suffering, giving with clarity, not being pulled by others, giving because kindness is natural, not a duty. A full mind does not feel tired, does not demand, and does not resent. An empty mind gives more and feels more depleted. Modern science and psychology also confirm this. Experts call it emotional burnout. When kindness is not supported by understanding, it becomes self-sacrifice that leads to harm. The body responds with stress, insomnia, anxiety, and prolonged tension. How do we fill the mind? Not by giving more, but by returning to nourish ourselves. Some simple practices. Spend a few minutes each day sitting still so your mind does not get pulled away by emotions. Observe the hidden expectations behind your kindness. Notice when you give because you fear rejection or fear being seen as unkind. Learn to say no when the mind is tired instead of trying to appear kind. Remember, kindness is not endless sacrifice. It is awareness of what you currently have in your own bowl. When the mind is full, kindness is no longer a burden. It becomes a natural light. When the mind is full, others cannot hurt you just because you help them. When the mind is full, kindness becomes strength instead of a way to silently harm yourself. The lesson from Mount Kase reminds us, kindness can only shine when it is nourished from strong inner roots. Weak people use kindness to hide. Strong people use kindness to nourish while keeping unshakable roots within. And this opens the door to the next story, the path of a strong person, where kindness is not weakness, but silent strength from a full mind. There is a paradoxical truth that many people don't want to face. Kindness is not for the weak. The weak can be very gentle, very polite, very willing to help. But it is their weakness that turns kindness into a disguise. The kindness of the weak is often used to avoid conflict, to please others, to maintain peace even while carrying silent wounds inside. The kindness of the strong is different. It comes from inner wholeness, from roots that are firm like an ancient pine tree, from the ability to help others without losing oneself. So, the questions are, what makes a gentle person become strong? What allows kindness to become a light instead of a burden? Buddhist teachings say, no one can give what they do not have. If the mind lacks strength, kindness becomes an escape. If the mind has strength, kindness becomes a healing energy. The weak use kindness to hide fear. The strong use kindness to nourish the world. And strong people always have roots, just like a tree. A tree that can bend with the wind is flexible. But if it bends too much and loses its roots, one storm is enough to uproot it. In life, a gentle person without roots will be taken advantage of. A gentle person with roots will be respected, and those roots always begin with self-respect, recognizing one's own value. On the quiet hill of Suginami, where rows of pine trees stretch like an ancient carpet, there was a small monastery hidden in the morning mist and birdsong. There lived Zen Master Reishin, who had spent many years in silence, and beside him was a young novice named Suito, a gentle, polite boy who always bowed and accepted every task, yet whose heart was so soft that he didn't dare refuse anyone. Suito had a habit since the day he entered the monastery. Whenever someone asked for help, no matter how exhausting the task was, he accepted, tried his best, and pushed himself to the limit. Every night, when everyone returned to their rooms and the lights were out, he was still working without a single complaint, eventually falling asleep on the cold stone steps, curling up like a leaf unable to protect itself. One early morning, wind from the valley blew up with a freezing chill. From afar, Master Reishin saw Suito carrying 2 heavy buckets of water, walking down the steep path toward the village below. His face was pale and breath short from exhaustion, yet his eyes continued to maintain kindness. As soon as he placed the buckets down, he rushed back up the mountain, afraid he would miss the chanting session. When he returned, Suito knelt and apologized, his hands shaking slightly from fatigue. The master asked, "Why did you carry water all the way down to the village?" Suito lowered his head, voice faint like the wind, because an old woman asked. I couldn't refuse. The master stared deeply into his eyes, gentle eyes filled with hidden fear. "You couldn't refuse, or you were afraid she would be upset? Did you help out of kindness?" or because you wanted to maintain a harmless image? Sweeto stayed silent. The question touched a place he had never dared look at directly. Master Ration did not continue speaking. Instead, he brought Sweeto behind the monastery, where an ancient pine tree stood rooted against a stone cliff. Its trunk was so wide that it took 3 people to embrace it, and its roots clung deeply to the rocks as if the earth and tree had become one. "Look at that pine tree," he said. "It has survived storms, snow, and fierce winds for over 100 years. Why do you think it hasn't fallen?" Sweeto whispered, "Because its roots anchor deeply." The master nodded and asked, "If this pine tree were soft like grass, bowing in every direction the wind blew, could it stand until today?" "No, it couldn't." The wind rustled through the pine branches, echoing like a whisper of truth. Master Ration then spoke slowly. "You think you are kind because you help everyone. But most of the time, you are simply afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of upsetting someone, afraid of being judged. That is not compassion. That is fear disguised as kindness." Sweeto bit his lip, his eyes turning red. Ration continued, each sentence like a stone placed firmly onto the ground. "A gentle person without roots will be pulled in every direction by others. A gentle person with roots knows when to give and when to withhold. A gentle person with roots can say no without losing compassion. A gentle person with roots uses kindness to lift others, not to wear themselves down." The master broke off a small pine twig and placed it in Sweeto's hand. "This is today's teaching. True kindness must come from inner strength, not from the fear of being left behind." Sweeto looked at the pine twig. Tears streamed down, yet his heart felt lighter than ever. At that moment, he understood that he did not live to be liked, but to grow and to remain himself. From that day on the hill of Suginami, Sweeto was no longer a trembling leaf in the wind, but a young pine sprout learning to stand upright. Sweeto's story reveals a profound truth in Buddhist teachings. Kindness cannot stand firm if it lacks self-respect. Many people mistakenly think that being gentle means always yielding, always pleasing, always lowering oneself. But in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught clearly, compassion must go with wisdom. Without wisdom, compassion becomes weakness. The weak use kindness as a cloak to avoid uncomfortable emotions. The strong use kindness as an arm extending from a full heart. 3 signs of weak kindness: giving to gain affection, yielding to be praised as a kind person, doing things out of fear of being abandoned. 3 signs of strong kindness: helping because someone is suffering, not from fear of judgment. Maintaining boundaries and knowing when to say no, not losing oneself while speaking kindly. Modern psychology teaches the same. A person with no boundaries will be pulled into others' emotions. A person with healthy boundaries is respected, heard, and lives more peacefully. A study by Harvard University found people with clear personal boundaries have 33% lower stress levels and 40% better sleep quality. This fully aligns with the Buddha's teachings from 2,000 years ago. Strength is not about speaking loudly or being rigid. Strength is knowing that my kindness must have roots. Application in daily life. When someone asks for help beyond your capacity, pause and ask, am I doing this out of compassion or out of fear of being misunderstood? When giving, observe your feelings. Do I feel light or obligated? When kindness makes you exhausted, it is no longer kindness. It is a sign that you need to care for yourself. Learn to say no with calmness. Learn to love without accepting exploitation. Learn to stay gentle without losing your roots, like the pine roots clinging to stone. The strong do not sway just because others want to pull them their way. Many people lose sleep not because they are physically tired, but because their minds are haunted by questions. Have I done enough for everyone? Will someone be upset if I don't give everything I have? Am I becoming a bad person if I say no? Such questions are like constant winds shaking a tree whose roots have barely formed. To sleep deeply, the mind must stand firm. To stand firm, the mind must know its own value. When inhaling slowly, realize no one expects you to carry the entire world. When exhaling gently, release what does not belong to you. When lying down at night, know that the kindness you gave today is enough. Sleep will come like twilight descending upon the pine forest, soft and effortless. The lesson from Suganami Hill reminds us, a gentle person must have roots to be respected. Those roots are self-respect, inner steadiness, and dignity. A tree leaning with the wind is soft, but leaning too far will uproot it. Humans are the same. Gentle without roots will be exploited. Gentle with roots will stand firm and be honored. And from here, the path leads to the next teaching, the roots of respect. Because respect does not come from words, but from how firmly we stand within ourselves. In life, there's a paradox that causes many people deep inner pain. Some kind people are treated badly, while others who are strong are always respected. Why are there people who are very gentle, always helpful, always yielding, yet constantly looked down on, taken advantage of, and pushed into roles they never wanted? And why are there others who are also gentle, but the moment they appear, people naturally adjust their attitude and know where the line is? What creates that difference? Why is it that some people become more oppressed the kinder they are, while others become more respected the kinder they are? Buddhist teachings speak about roots. A beautiful tree is beautiful because its roots are strong. A person is respected because their foundation is firm. And that foundation, in the path of practice, is called self-respect. The respect for oneself, the recognition of one's own value. If a person does not respect themselves, others cannot truly respect them. If a person easily bends to everyone's wishes, they become like a tree that leans too far. One strong gust of wind is enough to uproot it. On the other hand, someone who keeps their roots, still soft, still kind, still compassionate, yet has an inner pillar, boundaries, and clarity. That steadiness is what naturally makes others respect them. The next Zen story is a clear illustration of this. In the Kurenai Valley, where maple leaves flare up like soft flames every season, there was a monastery hidden in still, thick mist. That monastery was not known for long sutras or powerful sermons, but for the way Zen master Ryugen taught his students through images, through what they could see, hear, and feel, more than through theoretical doctrine. There lived a young novice named Etsuo, gentle, polite, diligent, always wanting to be a good person but so easily influenced that he often lost himself without realizing it. Etsuo believed that to be a good person, he had to meet everyone's expectations. Whenever someone asked for help, whether the work was hard, heavy, or even unreasonable, he accepted in silence, without objecting, without refusing. If anyone complained, he apologized first, even when it wasn't his fault. Sometimes others dumped their heavy tasks onto him simply because they knew Etsuo would never say no, and he had never stopped to ask whether that was truly right or not. When early winter came, the wind in Kurenai Valley turned sharp as needles. The monks in the monastery discussed repairing the fence that had been blown down by the wind days before. Everyone was busy. Everyone had something to do. And then, as if it were obvious, all eyes turned to Etsuo. No one needed to say a word. Etsuo volunteered without hesitation. All day long, he worked in the freezing cold, his breath like smoke, his hands so numb he could barely feel them. The fence was repaired, but Etsuo was coughing violently, his face red with fever, his body shaking as if he no longer had enough energy to stand upright. Zen Master Ryugen saw it all. He did not scold, did not question, did not stop him. He simply observed quietly, as if waiting for the right moment to plant a seed of wisdom. The next morning, before the sun could pierce through the thick fog, Ryugen called Etsuo to follow him into the forest behind the monastery. There stood a giant pine tree, considered the most sacred ancient tree in the region, with a trunk rough like armor and roots that dug deep into the rocky earth, like the claws of some ancient bird. Ryugen pointed to the pine and spoke in a calm, deep voice. Etsuo, what do you see in that pine tree? Etsuo looked carefully and replied, Master, it is strong and steady, as if storms could never touch it. Ryugen nodded and asked again. Last night the wind was very strong. Some trees in the forest broke. Why is this pine still standing? Because its roots go very deep and hold very firmly. The master placed his hand on the cold trunk, then slowly said, If this tree were soft like grass, leaning whichever way the wind blew, do you think it would still be standing here today? Etsuo lowered his head, his voice as faint as a passing breeze. No, definitely not. Ryugen looked directly into his disciple's eyes. You are easily led, not because others are stronger than you, but because you have no roots. You think you are kind, but in truth you are living out of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of making others upset, fear of being misunderstood. When you live just to please others, your kindness is no longer compassion. It is only self-defense disguised as kindness. Those words struck the deepest place in Etsuo's heart. He suddenly realized that for many years, what exhausted him was not the work itself, but the belief that he was not allowed to make anyone unhappy. Ryugen picked up a bright red maple leaf and placed it in Etsuo's hand. This leaf is beautiful, but one strong gust of wind and it is gone. It has no roots. That pine tree, however, stands through every storm because it has roots. You are the same. If you lack the roots of self-respect, boundaries, and awareness, you will be swept away by the demands of the world. Then the master ended with a sentence Etsuo remembered for the rest of his life. A gentle person is not someone who always does what everyone wants. A gentle person is someone who keeps their true self in every situation. From that day on, Etsuo began learning how to set boundaries with kindness, not with fear, and his kindness, rather than being exploited, started to be respected. This story opens up an important truth. Gentle people are taken advantage of, not because they are gentle, but because they lack roots. Gentle people are respected because they have roots. The Buddha taught, without wisdom, compassion becomes weakness. Without compassion, wisdom becomes cold. Self-respect is the union of these two. It is not arrogance, and it is not rigid toughness. It is the clear knowing that I have value. I am as important as anyone else. Lack of self-respect leads to 3 patterns. 1. Bending according to others' emotions. 2. Being easily manipulated by praise or criticism. 3. Not daring to say no for fear of displeasing others. A person with self-respect is different. 1. They are compassionate, but do not flatter. 2. They are gentle, but not weak. 3. They help others, but do not trade themselves away. Modern psychology calls this healthy boundaries. People with clear boundaries are often seen as safe, trustworthy, and more respected. A study at the University of Colorado found those who set clear boundaries experience 40% less stress, sleep more deeply, and have twice the level of satisfaction in their relationships. This completely aligns with what the Buddha taught more than 2,500 years ago. In daily life, the root of respect begins with 3 things. 1. Self-respect. Not seeing yourself as lower than others. Not allowing anyone to trample on you. 2. Boundaries. Knowing which responsibilities are yours and which are not. Knowing when to help and when to stop. 3. Steady presence. Not scrambling just to make others happy. Not losing yourself because of one complaint. Practical application. When someone says something that makes you uncomfortable, pause and take a deep breath. When you are asked to do something beyond your capacity, explain your situation clearly without over-apologizing. When you feel disrespected, keep a calm tone and respond clearly. When someone crosses your boundaries, say, "This is not okay with me." The root of respect is very simple. The degree to which you respect yourself is the degree to which life will respect you. Many people can't sleep because their minds have no roots. They lie in bed, but their thoughts still chase after others' expectations. They replay criticism from earlier in the day. They worry that someone is upset with them. They worry they haven't done enough, given enough, or been good enough. Those thoughts are like night winds that keep shaking the heart. When you practice mindful breathing, the roots of the mind are nourished again. Breathing in, become aware that your body is lying still. Breathing out, release what does not truly belong to you. Breathing in, know that you have done your best today. Breathing out, let go of what you cannot control. As the mind becomes more stable, sleep will naturally come, like a gentle stream flowing back to its old riverbed. The root of respect begins with self-respect. like pine roots digging deep into the earth. The tree is gentle, but not weak. The person is kind, but not pushed around by life. When you keep your own roots, others will automatically adjust their behavior. Respect does not come from demands. It comes from the steady energy within. We have walked together through a quiet journey, where kindness is illuminated by wisdom, and where Zen stories reveal the true nature of goodness. When you understand why kindness is sometimes taken for granted, you also understand yourself more deeply. It is not your gentleness that makes you disregarded, but the fact that you have not yet held your own roots firmly enough. The Buddha taught that any virtue without wisdom will easily lean off balance. Kindness without mindfulness becomes people-pleasing. Kindness without self-respect becomes excessive self-sacrifice. And kindness without boundaries becomes a burden to the very person who carries it. Remember, kindness is the light. Wisdom is the lamp. Boundaries are the base that keeps the lamp standing. Those who carry only the light without the base will be blown out by the winds of life. Those who have the light, the base, and wisdom will illuminate their own path and shine that light on those who are truly ready to receive it tonight. Before you fall asleep, give your heart a gentle reminder. Being kind does not mean giving myself away. Being kind means knowing when to open my heart to love and when to close it to protect myself. When you understand and honor your own value, the world will begin to treat you with matching respect. Your kindness will no longer be dismissed, but will become a steady source of light, unchanged by praise or blame, and no longer exhausted from waiting for recognition. Thank you for being here on this journey, for allowing your heart to open and listen until the very end. If these gentle Zen teachings have brought you peace, please subscribe to the Buddhism Seeds channel. Click like, share, and leave a comment so we can continue walking together on the path of awakening. May you have a truly peaceful night. May your sleep be deep, soft as a cloud, and clear like a Zen lamp in the gentle wind. Good night.